What are heirloom seeds and why they should be important to you? This is Daryl, Louisiana Simple Living. So there's always some mystery around what exactly are heirloom seeds. There's other types. There's GMO seeds, hybrids, there's organic. I'm going to give you an explanation of what these different types of seeds are and the impact it'll have on you and your garden. Now I'm going to explain why I grow nothing but heirlooms in my garden. There's a lot of advantages of doing that. It's especially important now when we got the spring right around the corner. It doesn't seem like it, but we're going to be ready to go ahead and start some seeds inside to be ready for our springtime to go ahead and plant out once it warms up. I'm excited, so let's get started. Let's first define what heirloom seeds are. The heirloom seeds are older, open pollinated seeds. Now I'm going to break it down in two different ways. Let's talk about older first. There's a couple of different interpretations. The first one being it was after World War II, around the 1950-51 time frame. That's when hybrid seeds kind of become commercially available at that time. Now there's two interpretations of what older means. The first one being it happened after World War II, sometime around 1950, 1951. That's when hybrid seeds kind of started getting commercially available. The other is the seeds originated at least 100 years ago. So those are just kind of two definitions for older, but that at least goes back to say 1950. That's a good 70 something years, up to over 100 years. People consider them heirloom. We also mentioned that it's open pollinated varieties. If you have a plant, this heirloom plant, you harvest the seed, you plant the seed, that plant that's going to grow up is predominantly going to have like kind characteristics. It'll be the same species, have the same traits as the parent plant. And you do that over a number of generations, and that really identifies that line of heirloom seeds. And there's always a case for mutations though, so if you got the same varieties, so if you got multiple varieties around this, squirrel, get out of here. Well, there's always opportunity for mutations if you have the same species but multiple varieties all in close proximity. Potentially it can cross-pollinate and you'll get some kind of mutant, or you get some kind of variation from what you're expecting the true type. But predominantly you're going to get the same exact type of plant from the seed, from the parent that you plant. And again, once these seeds have been grown, harvested again, planted again over a number of generations, let's say 70 something years or even over 100 years, then it really kind of turns into an heirloom variety, which is pretty cool. It's got history. Now some consider heirlooms have to be, basically come from people, an identified person or group or community, and that what that does is that basically kind of eliminates any older commercial varieties that people are using now. It doesn't really matter to me. What's really cool though about these heirlooms is the people or communities that were involved with developing that seed, that variety. There's so much history, there's so much story. Let me give you an example. There's the Cherokee, Trail of Tears, black bean, right? So I've grown it here a number of times. Got some that I may grow in the spring. That seed was brought from Tennessee when they were force marched to Oklahoma to settle there. And this is one of the prized possessions one of the Cherokee people, or some of the Cherokee people, had from Tennessee, and they brought to Oklahoma. It's now considered an heirloom. To me though, the history there is just incredible. And that's just one example, but each one of these heirloom varieties has some kind of history, some kind of story behind it. I'm a history guy. Man, that's really cool to be able to relate or try to connect and understand, think about back in the day when these seeds were coming out. There's history there. All right, there's organic seeds, and that can be heirloom. Basically, organic seeds are those seeds where the producer of those seeds followed all of the organic standards that are required. Organic pesticides, organic fertilizer. There's a set of criteria around that, so they identify that. If different seed companies, they'll identify that they're organic or not. Not every kind of seed is organic, and they are kind of pricey. They're a little more expensive. But that's what organic means. The producer of those seeds followed all organic requirements. All right, next up we're going to talk about hybrids. So hybrid seeds come about from a deliberate or intentional cross-pollination between two different varieties in the same species. The purpose they do this is to try to get the traits from each one of those plants, to try to get them to come together in that one hybrid plant that they put together, or hybrid seed they put together and sell. The goal is to produce the best offspring with the traits from both of the parents. And the hybrid plants are generally together to allow certain traits or characteristics to come through, whether it be disease resistance, pest resistance. They're great to have a plant out here as a hybrid. They're not GMO or anything like that. They're not been modified. So the only problem with hybrids is you can go ahead and get the seeds, harvest the seeds from the hybrid plant, and then replant them. The problem is you're not going to have true to type to that hybrid. You may have some of the traits from either one, but generally you're not going to have a reproduction, so to speak, of that same hybrid plant that you had by planting its seed. And so look, if you're not looking to save seeds, and you're not drawn to the connection to the past, to the history, towards the stories behind those heirloom seeds, hybrid may be a good option for you. I do choose to go heirloom personally. And hey, look, if you find this information valuable for you, please go ahead and subscribe, like that video, feel free to share it. Don't forget to check out my store, my merch. There's an example. Go ahead and check out the store. It just helps support the channel. That would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's talk about GMO. GMO seeds. GMO stands for genetically modified organism. While GMO seeds are not hybrids, most hybrids are not GMO. And so the GMO seeds is basically those plants are manipulated, their DNA, there's something that's inserted into their DNA to change it up a little bit. And usually these cells are grown into a tissue culture where they eventually become plants. Large scale farming sometimes uses GMO, and they have things like for corn, for wheat, things of that nature. Generally they aren't readily available, at least for your typical backyard garden plants, your tomatoes, your peppers, and those kind of things. Yeah, you probably can find some if you look hard enough, but they're just not really readily available. And that's good, because I don't want to grow any GMO stuff here. I don't want to have the genetically modified, DNA modified produce coming into my house. And I guess I'm just kind of old-fashioned that way. See, at Louisiana Simple Living, I exclusively use heirloom seeds. It's important to me. It's just kind of what I like to do, and I'm going to give you 7 quick reasons why I personally use heirloom seeds, and you may want to consider it. Number one, and being the number one item, the reason I prefer heirloom varieties is the taste. You get a fairly limited set of varieties you can get from the grocery store. Those grocery store vegetables and stuff just doesn't taste anywhere near what an heirloom fresh from the garden would taste. And so if you recognize it's been at least 1-2 weeks before that produce was picked, in the time it's transported in transit, and in the time it actually put it on the shelf, you buy it, you bring it home, and you cook it. Or the alternative is grow your own heirloom varieties that taste better anyhow than the varieties they got in the grocery store, and they're fresh. You pick them at their top of their ripeness, top of the nutrients, and you're able to really enjoy that at home and enjoy that taste. So much better, 100 times better than what you can get from the grocery store. And number 2 is connection to the past. So I'm kind of a history buff. I really enjoy history and understanding things. Each one of these heirloom seeds you choose, and I gave you the Cherokee Trail Tears example, but every single one of these heirloom seeds have some story. Somebody's been passing along generation after generation, especially the ones, you know, back from the late 1800s and stuff like that. To me, that's really exciting. That's really cool to do a little research and understand the background, the story behind all these seeds, who saved them, or it's a community who fostered them, stewarded them through the different generations to where they're at today as a viable heirloom variety. I just think it's really cool. About number 3 is the other thing I really like is the variety of plants. So you have a variety, you can choose the color, the shape, how big, how little, various other traits that are available as heirlooms that just go well beyond what you can get from the grocery store. I mean, They have a limited selection of the varieties that are on the shelf. But through Heirloom varieties, you can, again, a multitude of colors, shapes, sizes, taste, everything. And there's internet sites that provide your heirloom seeds for anything that you're going to grow in your backyard. Rareseeds.com is one. I use seedsnow.com is another one I use. I've really started using them in the last 6 months. They're really, really good. You also had seedsavers.org. And look, there's other ones. I ain't going to exclude any of them. Everybody's got seeds, but you can get all the heirloom seeds you need from these different kind of places. And of course, hit your local plant nursery. Buy seeds from them. If they got what you're looking for, keeps the money in the community, so that's a good thing too. I'll give you an example. So you can grow black tomatoes, white or yellow carrots, and purple potatoes. I mean, there's a whole variety of things you can choose, and that just makes gardening to me just a blast of fun. It's exciting to get some new stuff, plant it, have it come up, and be ready to harvest it and eat it. It's fun. All right, number 4. Heirloom varieties just have withstood the test of time. There's a reason why people have kept this seed going generation after generation after generation, over 100 years, because it's an outstanding plant. And that's what's really cool. You know, it's been tested over time, and it's a good plant to have in your backyard garden. And I mentioned earlier around taste, but the nutritious level, there's a number of studies that have gone in and shown that your produce you get from your backyard garden, and specifically heirloom varieties, the nutrition value from those versus what you can get in the grocery store is higher. And again, that kind of the reason I gave on taste. I mean, you are able to harvest it at the peak of ripeness, which means it's at the peak of nutrition. Versus waiting for something to be in transit, week, 2 weeks, be in a box somewhere, eventually, be in a freezer or a refrigerator, eventually being put out on the shelf. You buying it, you may not cook for another 2 days. It's just not going to be at the peak of nutrition nor taste. Number 6 is seed saving. So not everybody is going to be saving seeds. I do it a little bit. I don't do it a whole lot. I know I can buy new seeds next year, next season. But if you want to save seeds and you're able to replant those seeds year after year, you actually get a better plant. It's conditioned for the environment that you're in, your specific backyard, specific weather, rain, sun, cold, hot. So all those things come together to really kind of give you a better plant in the end. I do it some, again, I just don't do it extensively. But if you don't go heirloom, you're not going to have true to type plants. If you do hybrid and you try to replant the seed, you don't know what you're going to get. GMO, again, I've already said I ain't going to deal with that. Organic's good, don't get me wrong, that's good. But if you go the heirloom, you know that you can take that seed, sow it, and you're going to get the same plant that you had from the parent. Number 7, you know that if it's heirloom, then it's non-GMO. You also know it's not a hybrid. So it gives you the opportunity, to be able to plant an heirloom to get the absolute best flavor, color, taste, all those different kind of things combined from an heirloom in your backyard garden. All right, gave a good description of the different kinds of seeds: heirloom, organic, GMO, and hybrids. Again, I use exclusively heirlooms in my backyard organic raised bed garden. And hopefully you'll see the value to go ahead and do that in your backyard. If this content is good on seeds, man, I got another seeds one-on-one basically video that goes into a little bit more depth around seeds. I'll put a link down below. And if you get a chance, just support the channel, but go to the store menu choice. Once you go to the Louisiana Simple main page, underneath the banner you can choose store, and it'll show you what we got available. Got some gardening stuff and some Louisiana Simple Living merchandise there. Check it out. As I always say, make memories now, make memories with family and friends, and do it now. You never know when the opportunity may not be available in the future. All right, so get out in your backyard and let's grow something. And I'll see you on the next video.